joining week after week after week. I enjoy your company. For those of you who must know, Saturdays is one of the best, one of the best days of the week. I get the opportunity to sit here with you to share tips, tools, and tactics about progress, about insights that I've learned, about building your business, your personal and professional development. And today and over the next couple of Saturdays, we're going to focus a bit more on becoming an author. A couple of you had said earlier on that this is something that you are interested in doing, and I'm going to use one of the frameworks that really helped me write a book, and I'm going to, oh, what have I done? I'm going to use that as an opportunity to help you to write your book. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been sharing with you that if you could get a copy of my book, 50 Golden Lessons, because everything that we need to work through, I'm going to be working through in that is going to be taken from that book. I wrote the book, 50 Golden Lessons, because many of you will be aware in September last year, I celebrated my 50th birthday. Some of you were there. I know Shalina was there, and others were there. It was a really great time. And I decided, listen, I'm 50, the big 50. I'm going to live my life like it's golden. I created a music video, and I just decided that I was going to have some key milestones in that year to really help me increase my capacity for more and just to step out and live life in a different way. So one of the things I wanted to do was the music video, and then I wanted to write another book. And I just made this long list of things that I want to do in my 50th year, and supporting you to create your own publication is going to be part of that journey. Now, I know we have Jackie on the line. She was my editor for this particular book, and we're going to walk through that. So we're going to walk through this in a moment. But if you haven't done so, please do get a glass of water and your notepad, because I'm going to talk to you about 10 reasons to become an author, 10 reasons to become an author. So this is more than just, oh my gosh, I just want everybody to know my story. Because truth be told, in the age and the time and the season that we are living in now, I don't know how many people even care, right? I don't think it's so much about people. Do they care about your story? Are they interested in your story? Do they care about what you want to write? They're not necessarily interested in your personal testimony, but they are interested in how does that relate to them? What can we learn from them? What unique wisdom, what unique knowledge, what unique experience, perspective, or story can they learn from you? So we want to be able to be in a position, you want to be in a position to utilize your skill, your knowledge, your expertise in a way that becomes interesting for other people to learn from, to tap into, and to lean into. So I'm going to give you a quick whistle stop tour about what those 10 reasons are. And then I also want you to think about how then does this relate to you, and in context of where you are and what you want to do. So what qualifies me to talk about this? I've written 5 books. The first 3 are in the middle. They are actually an anthology series. So some of you on the line, I know that you are part of the anthology series. Simone, Charmaine, Janet, you're across 2 pages. Oh, Carmen, yes, you're across 2 pages today, and I've just got one screen on. But some of you are in the anthology series, and the anthology is a collection of stories, a collection of 37 courageous women who I love to refer to as ambassadors of hope. They wrote about navigating mindset, identity, and relationships. They wrote about navigating health, grief, and loss, motherhood, change, and emotional roller coasters. And the reason behind that book was because I wanted to use it as an opportunity. We were in the middle of the pandemic, and I wanted to use it as a mile marker to point towards hope for other women who were experiencing challenges that they didn't know how to navigate. So that's one collection, or three collections rather, of stories that I've written. And some of you may be thinking, look, there are other women in your space, and you may want to create an anthology. This is a great model, a great template that you could potentially use in order to think about how you could amplify those stories for other women. After I did the anthology series, I went on to write my own book, The Balancing Act: Priorities of a Social Entrepreneur. And in there, I speak about the framework that I subscribe to, and I kind of delve a bit more with my mentees around fitness, faith, family, fun, friends, and firm, and how that fits into the wider pattern of life and what those priorities are. And more importantly, how you can reposition all those priorities so that you can get the end outcome. And then my fifth book was more of a workbook, and that's the one that Jackie, who's on the line, helped me to, well, she edited because my editing skills are zero, they are non-existent. But I wanted to write this particular book as a framework to help others. So even if they didn't want to come onto a mentoring program, they just look, Claudine, I just need to get this idea out of my head. I created the workbook. Here it is. Hopefully you should have a copy of this, because this is what we're going to work through. And this particular workbook is in two halves. The first half is me sharing my 50 golden lessons, and then the other half I leave for you to write your lessons, and that's the template that we're going to use to help you on the journey. But before we get into that, I wanted to give you 10 reasons that you can take away, that you can kind of share in your own space, that you can really get into to help yourself along the journey. All of these books are available on Amazon. So if you want to kind of get an idea of a template, how does this work? How do we, what's behind what Claudine is saying? You can go onto Amazon and get a copy. So the first one, for those of you who are entrepreneurs, you have a skill, you have an idea, you have a concept, something that you are skilled at. Writing helps establish your authority and your credibility, right? Most of you will know that I've been in the social enterprise space for 3 decades. Oh my goodness, I know I do not even look or feel old enough, but I've been in the social enterprise space for 3 decades. Writing establishes your authority and credibility. It positions you as an expert in your field and enhances your professional reputation, making your business more trustworthy to clients and partners. So, first of all, I want you to think about, what is it that you are writing, and how are you positioning yourself as that authority? What gives you that credibility to say that I'm an expert? For me, I've been working in the social enterprise space. I've been running a social enterprise for 30 years. I've advised two prime ministers about social entrepreneurship. I had a public appointment with the Department for Works and Pensions as a social enterprise ambassador and advisor. I was social enterprise social entrepreneur in residence at Kingston University. So I've got lots of mile markers for me to point to that establishes my credibility in that space. I have academic qualifications that support or underpin my actual professional qualification. So I want you to think about, if you're going to write a book, what establishes your authority and what establishes your credibility? Why will people believe you? Why will people believe that you are trustworthy to your clients and to your partners? What will allow them to say, yes, I need to buy Charmaine's book because, yes, I need to buy Dr. Joan Myers OBE's book because, I need to buy Delro's book because she is an expert in this particular space. Number two, it differentiates you from your competitors. So the market is crowded, right? Whatever area that you want to get into, there is likely to be at least 5, 10, 15. I'm probably even grossly underestimating the number of people who are in the marketplace. But what differentiates you is to be able to say, I've got a book. And enables you to showcase your unique insights and expertise, which then gives you a competitive edge. How many times have you been in a space and you've heard people say, you can order my book, or your book becomes your business card? I've been in spaces with Daniel Priestley, one of my mentors, Shah Wasmond. She, her book, actually, she wrote one of her books 10 years ago. And then W.H. Smith's reconnected with her to ask her for another order. So here's the thing. Your book then becomes your business card. Your book then allows you to instead of saying, here's my square card with all my details, give them your book. It has all of the information on there, everything about you, who you are, what you're doing, even your thoughts and what this is doing, a competitive edge. Can you think about if you write, how does this make you stand out in a crowded market? Your unique insights, your unique expertise, your unique wisdom is what separates you from everybody else in that space. Having a book expands your reach. Think about this. My books have arrived in Jamaica, they've arrived in the US, they've in Dubai, they've arrived in Asia, they've arrived in spaces where my feet have not even yet gone to. My book has been in locations. If you, for those of you who are thinking about what this means, I had asked, especially when we were doing the launch, part of my launch strategy was to ask people, for those of you who buy the book, go back onto Amazon and give the book a 5-star Amazon review. So when I go back and see the global reach of the book, it allowed me to share my message and my philosophy with readers beyond my network. But those readers then went back onto Amazon to leave Amazon 5-star Amazon reviews. I've then used those 5-star reviews as screenshots. I've used it as content creation. I've repurposed some of the things that people have said in part of my narrative to help expand my reach. So you can then use this as an opportunity to expand your global reach. Who do you want to speak to? What country would you like to get into that you haven't physically been to? So one of the strategies that I've been doing is speaking to people in different countries. I've even used my book. There have been events that I wasn't able to go to, but I've sent my books. Now my mind, my philosophy, my message is in the hands of those readers, even though I have not been able to go. So I've been able to send a a version of myself in the form of a book into those respective spaces. Number 4, this is probably the piece that I know everyone's going to be interested in. It generates additional revenue streams. So many of you are entrepreneurs already. Some of you are intrapreneurs. You're working in somebody else's business. But beyond your primary business offering, your book sales can provide an additional source of income and diversifying your revenue stream. So you can create a business model for your book. So it's one thing to write the book, but now you need to have a plan, a distribution plan of how are you going to amplify that book? How are you going to get that book out into the masses? It brings in additional revenue for your business. Now, that revenue, of course, is dependent on your marketing, dependent on how you publicize this. Shalina was speaking earlier on about her podcast. You can publicize your book on your podcast. There are so many different opportunities and different avenues for you to tap into as it relates to diversifying your revenue stream. Having a book enhances your marketing effort. It serves as a powerful marketing tool, opening the door for media appearances, speaking engagements, and other promotional opportunities that can elevate your profile. So for me, I use all of my books. People will say to me, Claudine, oh, you're an author. Can you tell me a bit more about your books? And interestingly, the different books, the different categories will be of interest to different people. From a ministerial perspective, my personal story, when I speak about the priorities of a social entrepreneur, why are these priorities for me? How have I established my credibility in the marketplace? I use it to demonstrate in a ministerial perspective that ministry isn't only in the confines of the church. It's not only in the 4 walls of the church. And my book, The Priorities of a Social Entrepreneur, speaks into that. The anthology series helps me demonstrate what community means. So 37 amazing women, ambassadors of hope. I'm able to use this use their stories or use the framework of the anthology to amplify the message of hope, to amplify that message of overcoming challenging situations. And then lastly, the 50 golden lessons. I recently released that one last year, and my bigger picture agenda for this, I'm going to do a second edition. And in the second edition, I'm really looking for about 10 women who want to amplify their stories. But really, what I'm looking for is the testimonial of the methodology that they've used. And that's why we're running this series. But all of this contributes to enhancing your personal marketing efforts. Number six, how do you attract ideal clients? By clearly articulating your expertise and your values in your book, you can draw clients who resonate with your message, and they're more likely to engage with your products and services. So what's happened for me in the past, people have read my testimonials that are on Amazon. They've come back to me. They've said, Claudine, in your book, you spoke about, the life framework wheel. Can you elaborate a bit more about this? Or they'll ask me to speak at their event about the life framework wheel. I've had speaking engagements from as far as the US based on the life framework wheel. And what's really interesting about that, I was speaking at an online event in Atlanta. From that online event, some of the attendees, they went off and purchased my book. From that same online event, I was invited to be the UK lead for the Atlanta Black Chamber. Then, after being in that position for, I think I was in post for 2 years, then I got the promotion to be the European lead. So that's been really, really interesting for me to be in that. Number seven, having a book builds community. You can get people around your space. You can get them around what you're doing. You can share your knowledge. You can foster a community of readers. You can build a book club around your industry, build a loyal customer base, encouraging word of mouth referrals. You can build your own community around your book. You can start a reading club. You can use the lessons and all of those respective things that you are learning, that you are speaking about around your book. Number eight, um, you can provide content for other platforms, and this is something that works really well. Shalina spoke about this earlier on. She's got a podcast for those of you who are bloggers, for those of you who run workshops and courses. You can use the content from your book to repurpose into those other mediums that you are operating across, so that you don't always have to create brand new content. You can repurpose, just write that word, repurpose, write the word repurpose in the chat box. You can repurpose your content into other areas, into other spaces. So, for example, in my book, Priorities of a Social Entrepreneur, I can repurpose my content into into a LinkedIn post, or into a workshop, or into a blog. I have a weekly newsletter. Some of you have signed up for that. Some of the content from my books I repurpose into my weekly newsletter. Some of the content in the workshops I run and the Navigating Life Empowerment class, I repurpose. So think about how can you do the work once and then repurpose it. All right, number nine, it strengthens your personal development. So the writing process, oh my goodness. If I tell you the number of times that I've been challenged just by the writing process in and of itself, but it helped me strengthen my vocabulary. It helped me strengthen and enhance my communication skills. It made me appreciate it from a very different perspective, the experiences of other writers, and more importantly, it contributed to my growth as a thought leader, because now I had to learn to capture my thoughts in a succinct way and present those, and then I can practice using those thoughts in other areas. So when we talk then about the personal development piece, I really had to dig deep, especially when I was writing Priorities of a Social Entrepreneur, because listen, under the clock, we are all equal. We all have 24 hours, but I didn't have enough time to write. And so I had to really dig deep and think about, how am I going to tap into a different layer of discipline in order to help myself in order to develop myself personally and professionally in order to write. And I found it really helpful. The last thing, number 10, facilitates networking opportunities. So I kind of spoke about this earlier on, but having a book allows you then to connect with other professionals, other industry leaders, other potential collaborators who can support and advance your business endeavors. And what's been really interesting as I've been speaking to other entrepreneurs and other people in professional spaces, they offer, oh, Claudine, could we do a collaboration? I write about social impact. Could you write about social enterprise, or could you write about the social entrepreneur? And let's bring all of those things together in one book. So now you have other opportunities to collaborate with other people. And I have found all of these reasons are 10 reasons, 10 amazing reasons to write a book. So with that in mind, if you could just tell me, do any of these things resonate with you? Let's start there. If they do, just kind of unmute your microphone, and tell me which of these 10 reasons resonate with you.
Hi, thank you for that, Claudine. Joan here. Yes, I've literally just published my book, and the Lord had put in my mind to set up a Bible study group, and I thought I didn't want to do it, but I did it. And then with Just Be on their platform, and when Yvette asked me, "What are you going to talk about?" I just said women in the Bible, and I thought I'm gonna have to do all this study. And then I suddenly realized, but I've just written a book about women in the Bible, so I actually run the Bible study every month, once a month, on a different chapter in the book on different women in the Bible.
That
So,
is awesome.
and then that increases the sales of the book as well. That wasn't my intention, but the main thing was that people would know the word of God. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely. And I think, Joan, what you've kind of tapped into here is really also allowing people to realize that how you can be creative with what you've got. So yes, you're doing almost two things at once. You've already used the system that you've created, the women in the Bible. Now you can teach that to somebody else. But now the unintended consequence of that is more book sales. So thank you so much for sharing. Shalina,
Yeah, so I think number eight really stood out for me so that it can provide content for other platforms. I'm all about repurposing. So yeah, having that body of work that you can dissect and use for different purposes on different platforms, incredible. That's a win.
awesome. That's really good to hear. All right, Michelle.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm piggybacking from Shirley Selena, and it's about repurposing because I'm launching my balance framework. And when I think about it, I'm going into school, university, and how I can repurpose myself and build that into a workbook. So I'm not repeating, yeah, and having another stream of income. So that resonates very, very well.
Good. All right, this is good. So thank you so much, Joan, Shalina, and Michelle for sharing this. And I think what's really important is that as you step into the process of writing, as you step into kind of helping yourself and really unpicking how am I going to make this work? What is this going to do for me? Have these not all 10, but whichever rationale resonates with you, have that in mind. Why am I writing? What am I hoping the outcome of the book will be? What am I looking for? What do I want people to get from the book that I'm writing? I wrote because I wanted to establish my authority and credibility. I wrote because so when I think about the different books that I have, I wrote them for different reasons. I wanted to be able to support women in the marketplace, especially during the pandemic. I wanted women to understand that navigating life is something that everybody has to do, right? It's something that we all have to lean into, but I wanted to have something tangible. So even as Dr. Joan was talking about her Bible study, her Bible study group, I also wanted women to have access to modern day women. So we've got women in the Bible, which is absolutely incredible. But I also wanted for modern day women, some of which are on on the platform with us, who can also talk about some of the experiences that they have had, but more importantly, how they then use their story, their experience to point others to the love of God through their story. And they talk about how God has empowered, enabled, and supported them through navigating a challenging season of life. One of the other things that I really wanted to do was to expand my reach. There are countries that I want to be able to go to, but my book will get there before I do. So here's the next thing that I'd love for you to do. Oh, Simone, sorry, I missed your hand. Simone, go ahead.
No, it's fine. No, I just wanted to quickly add. I mean, they all resonated, Claudine. They're all great, but number 9 stood out the most. Strengthens personal development. I like that idea that obviously forcing yourself to write a book requires, strength, discipline. You mentioned communication skills, but so many other skills. I didn't get it all down. Time management, all of those. So that stood out for me for sure.
Good. Thanks for that, Simone. And I tell you, that was one of the unintended consequences that I really didn't account for about the whole thing around strengthening my personal discipline. So when I wanted to write, I literally had to discipline myself. First of all, where am I going to find the time? Right, I'm busy, as I'm sure you all are too. And one of the things that my book writing coach helped me do, she suggested that I just carve out 1 hour in the day. And my first question was, where am I going to find another hour? I don't have another hour. But what I did, I created another hour in the morning. So, and my favorite author and mentor says this: tomorrow starts from the night before. So if you want to have a good tomorrow, you got to prepare tomorrow from the night before, which means going to bed early, organizing yourself, getting up on time so that you can be organized. And so I helped myself by turning up the dial of my discipline, going to bed earlier so that I could get up at 6 o'clock every morning. And from 6 till 7 every morning for a month, I just immersed myself in writing. Some mornings it was strictly 1 hour, but there are other mornings that I could turn that 1 hour into that 60 minutes into 120 minutes or to 90 minutes, depending on what was happening during the week. But it really helped me hone in and then get to my thoughts in a logical sequential process. So thank you so much, Simone. I think the personal discipline thing is a piece that sometimes we forget.
Also, just very quickly, really cheeky question. I missed reason 4 and reasons 10. If I could just quickly take a screenshot.
Okay.
Please.
Whilst I call those back up on the screen, you said 4 and 10. I'll call those back up on the screen. I want if you could start thinking about one lesson, one key lesson in your life, and I want to see if we can use the remaining time that we have today to reason 4, you said. If we can use the remaining time that we have today to kind of lean into getting you to work on pulling those lessons out. So let me do this first of all. So here is reason number 4. You got that?
Got it. Thank you.
You said number 10. Number 10.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So what I would love for you to do today is I want to take a screenshot. So hopefully you've got a copy of 50 Golden Lessons. We'll do the screenshot next week. I want us to focus on lesson number 1. And I want to get you started on the thought process. So think about what is one key lesson that you have learnt from life. One key lesson that you have learnt from life. And in the book template, at the back of the book, I ask or I invite people to write their own 50 golden lessons. Now, listen, the number is irrelevant. I said 50 because I'm 50, right? For this year, I've called it my decade of distinction. I'm doing everything in batches of 50 lessons, 50 countries, 50 cities, 50 of everything. I created this space. So the first half of the book is my lessons that I've written. And then the second half, I've left space for you to write. And what I want you to do is start here. I want you to write your own lesson. What is the lesson here? Page 1, and then use the narrative to write, what did you learn? And all I'm asking you to do, the process that I want to take you through, is getting those lessons out of your head and onto paper, because this is the first element of your draft manuscript. Once you've done this, you can get your niece, your nephew, to type this all up for you, and this becomes the first draft of your manuscript. Whilst you're thinking of that lesson, I'm going to put Jackie right on the spot. Jackie, are you ready to be put on the spot? Jackie was my editor for this particular piece. Um, and Jackie, if you can just kind of talk a little bit about the editing process. So, and the reason why I'm asking you this particular question is because this is one of the things that I struggled with. Like, oh my gosh, this has got to be perfect. I've got to give this, sorry, I'm saying it's got to be perfect when I already know that my grammar is poor, my sentence construction may not necessarily be the best, my punctuation, listen, let's not even talk about that. Like everything is bad. So I'm already when I was writing, I was already thinking that this is a problem, but I'm taking on the role of the editor and I'm not editing my book. So the reason I'm saying, number one, think about the lesson. Don't worry about those other things because that's not your responsibility. That's why we have editors. Over to you, Jackie.
Um, okay, thank you, Claudine. Editing. The first thing I would say is to make sure you don't send your first draft to your editor. The idea is to get your manuscript together and reread it yourself a couple of times, or get trusted people who aren't yes men to read the manuscript for you so they could give you constructive feedback. And once you have made the different amendments that you need to do to the draft, try to get your manuscript in the best possible shape you can before you send it to your editor. There's a lot of talk about using AI, and I know that Claudine spoke about this briefly last week. AI can be a good tool, but I wouldn't rely on it. Of course, I would say that as an editor, but AI does have its limitations. Um, it may correct your grammar, it may correct your punctuation, but the AI will not get who you are as a person. It won't really get the message that you're trying to portray to your readers. It won't have the nuances that you want to project to your readers. So I would always say, yes, AI is a great assistant, but don't rely on it for your book. Um, a lot of my clients are quite new to the game and they don't have a great understanding of just how long the process can be. There can be quite a bit of back and forth between the editor and the author. So it's good make sure that you choose somebody who gets you, who you're willing to learn from. um, I know me and Claudine had a few little back and forths with suggestions and things. Um, but your editor needs to be somebody that you can trust because it can be the start of a really great journey. It may be painful when you're writing your book, you know, like when we're giving childbirth, we say never again, but then 9 months later, you're giving birth to another child. It's kind of similar with writing a book. You may not enjoy the initial process, but once you get into it, you want to keep writing, keep publishing. You get the bug, and so if you find an editor that you can relate to, that's a really good part of the journey. Um, Claudine also mentioned that your book can be your business card. I would also say it can be an enhancement to your business or it can be the foundation of your business because from publishing a book, it can open doors to merchandise, it can open doors to speaking, it can open doors to podcasts, like Shalina was saying. Your book can open so many doors for you, and it's really important then that you do it properly because you only have one chance to make a first impression. And so you want to make sure that the book reflects you and your excellence. So make sure that it's not something that you rush through just to make a deadline. Make sure your book represents you the best way it possibly can. Is that okay? Look,
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, that's okay. Thank you so much, Jackie. Really appreciate that. I can see a couple of people clapping hands and a couple of people even in agreement with you in the chat. Martina said she wrote her first book in 2019 and she wants to write another one, but it's her book also helped her secure speaking and training engagement. So thank you so much. And you said a couple of things about rereading this yourself. I just really want to elaborate on that. When I wrote the priorities of a social entrepreneur, I remember I gave it to 8 of my trusted friends, and you said not yes men. Oh my gosh. I made sure the people who I gave it to, I gave them a brief. I told them to literally take this thing apart. I didn't know they were going to be so brutal. I did. One of my friends, I mean, my friend, she's a godmother to my son. Like we've grown up together. We go out. She said, Claudine, why did you make chapter five? Chapter five should have been chapter one. And why didn't you speak about this? And what you missed this whole like she took me to you need to go back. And this is before I'd given it to the editor. In my head, I'm like, I don't even think I'm going to publish this thing. If this is how she, and that was just the first person. And I gave it to 8 people. I gave it to my friend. I gave it to a friend in South Africa. I gave it to another friend in Switzerland. I gave it to one of my friends who's in the legal relative in the legal profession. So Jackie's point of not giving this to yes people because you are not the reader. Okay, you might have an ideal persona who you are writing in mind for, but it was really important. And what that helped me do, because that's the other thing, by that time I had given it to my friends, I had probably only written between 7 and 8,000 words. No, sorry, 27,000 words. By the time I took all of their comments on board and did the adjustments and the things that they had told me to do, I was now at 30,000 words. So their comments allowed me to dig a bit deeper and remember stories and wisdom and reference points that I could pinpoint and write to in the book that I had forgotten. So Jackie, you made a really, really great point. So what I'd love for us to do before we go, and next week, I'm going to create some more space for this. I just want you to get the lesson out of your head. One lesson out of your head that you can write about. So over the next 7 days, we're going to do the same thing next week. I really want you to use the template and get the lessons. So you could take literally one day every week and just write the lessons. What's the lessons? What's the thing that you want to learn? Number 2, what's the lesson that you want to learn? Number 3, what's the lesson that you want to learn? And then start writing down your wisdom, writing down your knowledge and your experience. And that's the thing that Jackie kind of leaned into about AI. AI can give you facts or misinformation, depending on what platform you're using. But it can't share your unique experience. It can't share your unique insight. It can't share, I mean, one of the lessons that I wrote about was around the thing of I wrote about the best thing you can give someone is an opportunity, and I wrote about creating over 10,000 jobs over the career of being a social entrepreneur. AI can't talk about my experience of that. AI can't, yeah, it can talk about how you create a job. It can talk about, it can probably write a job description for you. It can tell you, what to include, but it can't tell you the feelings that come with having to make sure you meet payroll on a monthly basis, making sure people get paid. It can't tell you about when you hear the stories from your staff about what they have done with their money, how they've invested, how they've bought land, how they've set up a chain of other businesses. I write about that because it's the lesson that I say is the best thing you can give someone is an opportunity. But what does that look like in practice? And I really want you to kind of hone in on the lessons that you learn so that you can then use those to contribute to your book. Dr. Joan.
Thank you for that. Oops, sorry, I'm getting mixed up now. So thank you for that, Claudine. Just to say, when I bought your book, I just thought it was amazing. I just read it through in less than half an hour,
Oh,
and
wow.
it inspired me so much. Because if you know me, I'm always having these quotes like "Get up, step up, move up. The challenge to change is your choice." So I wrote them down on one side, and then on the other side, I just used to explain what I meant by the statements that I said. So in just less than an hour, I got to point number 13. And then I
Wow.
got distracted and left it. But I've got all the other information. I just need to put them all together. And I'm hoping you get about 30 or maybe possibly 50 or 60, I don't know, and then get it
Wow.
together. So that's really good. So thank you for that inspiration.
Well, thank you for the testimonial. This is absolutely amazing to know that you got up to 13 in an hour. But the point here is look how easy it is, right? All you're doing, if you are to break this down in a step-by-step process, all I'm suggesting that you do is write down your wisdom, write down what you have learned, write down that thing, that saying. One, I think for my mum's birthday a couple of years ago, my siblings and I, we wrote down all of the things that she says to us, right? Some stuff we like, some stuff we don't like. And we just kind of made it into almost like a photo frame, an A4 photo frame, and all these things written down. But you can take those sayings. So even if not from yourself, other family members, your grandparents, I'm trying to get my uncles and aunties to do the same thing from my grandparents because my children didn't meet my grandparents and they would never know. So I was speaking to my uncle one day and he said to me, yeah, because dad said, and as he kept on saying, dad said, dad is my granddad, I would just write this down. Same thing what you've done, Joan. And by the end of the 2 hour conversation with my uncle, I had written down maybe about 13 things that he had said, my granddad had said, and even though I'd asked him, Uncle, would you write a book? And it was a hard no. Listen, I've already extracted the information. So you got to be wise about how you get this. I mean, he doesn't mind taking the information, but he just wasn't going to sit down and write it. But my point here, the lessons can come from anywhere. The lessons can come from the Navigated Life Empowerment class. The lessons can come from Claudine. The lessons can come from your breakout rooms, but it's how you tell the story. It's the wisdom that you apply to it. And that's what I want you to get. So Joan talked about 13 in 1 hour. You decide what the number is. For me, my number this year is everything is being done in batches of 50. I want 50 golden lessons. I'm saying however many your numbers are, get the information out of your head. And if you're stuck, go and ask your children. What do I say all the time? Go and ask your partner, your husband. Go and ask your members in your community, at your church. What is the thing that I say all the time? And what you'll find before long, you've got your own 50 golden lessons because they haven't all come from you. And that's the experience that happened when I shared my book, my first manuscript with my friends. They asked me, why didn't you write about this? Why didn't you include that? And so they were giving me content that I could actually include. So the first thing I asked you all to do was to think of one lesson, just one lesson. If you've thought of one lesson, can you put a number one in the chat box? Number one in the chat box. If you have thought of one lesson in life that you could write about. Joan, yeah. Okay, this is good. You've thought of one lesson. Okay, this is good. This is good. This is good. All right. Of that one lesson that you have thought about, can you think of a narrative or a story around that lesson? What did that lesson teach you? And I am going to see if I can pick somebody at random to really put you on the spot. Now, listen, we're in a safe space. There's only 32 of us on the line. No, 31 because my AI reader is still here. We're in a small community, right? I'm going to pick one person at random, probably a voice who I haven't heard today, to see if you can share what that one lesson is. Let me see if we can go to Dr. Maureen. Dr. Maureen Taylor, are you able to share your one lesson?
I can. So
Woo!
things one of the things I was thinking about today, well, actually probably this week, is how sometimes I do get so much information, emails coming in, and I just don't have the capacity to read and take in and respond to them at the time. So I'm really bad sometimes at following up. So my life lesson would be always follow up, even if you can't respond fully at the time, is just to say, I've got your email, I'm thinking about it, I will get back to you, and then just make a note. So I just need, that's a life lesson that I've had to learn for myself. And, I hope it's useful to everybody else, because life is just too busy to respond at the time to everybody.
Absolutely. And I really love this. And so one of the things that you could potentially elaborate on is what system you put in place to allow yourself to do that. So you've spoken about the lesson, but more importantly, how does that lesson help
Yeah,
improve your efficiency in your business,
yeah,
personal life? So you can use that to help other people who may be feeling overwhelmed, who may be feeling, oh my gosh, how many emails, 70 emails in a day. You
yes,
can you can you can then capture that system that you use to help yourself to share that with other busy professionals.
yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So you've already got one lesson or one element that you can put towards your book. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
music to my
Thanks for
ears.
that.
Music to my ears. All right, let me see somebody else who we have not heard from. Amma, can you share your lesson? If you can't, that's absolutely fine. I'm literally just going through and calling people at random.
It's all right. I can share.
Okay, go ahead.
So my lesson, I mean, I just thought about, something I tell my children all the time, especially when they're going through challenges, is that there is a solution to every problem. We just need to make the time to find out what the solution is. And sometimes it's about talking to other people, because I come from Ghana, West Africa, and there's a saying that if you don't sell your sickness, you will not find your medication. Sometimes it's about telling people what your problem is. It's That's how you find people who might have been through the same problem. They might know others who might have been through the same problem to help you find a solution.
Oh, I love this. And you can even put in some Ghanaian sayings in there. I really love that. And immediately you've got, in terms of the audience, the people who might be reading will be able to relate to your unique cultural experiences and your unique cultural nuances. So, Amma, the same question that I asked Maureen, will this be a lesson that you're able to put into your book?
Yes.
Good. Good. So if you haven't kind of noticed, really what I'm trying to do, ladies, I'm trying to help you extract the knowledge out of your head. Let's take it out of your head, put it in a book, in the workbook, so that you can then begin to pull your book together, whatever your story is. I haven't even asked you, what are you writing about? Who is your ideal reader? What's the persona of your reader? I haven't even asked you about the marketing plan or any of those things just yet. All I want you to do is focus on getting the ideas, getting the wisdom out of your head and into a, oh, Amber, I'm going to put you on silent if I can. Where are you?
No, anywhere you want.
Where is she? Here we go. Yeah. All right. All I want you to do is focus on getting that idea out of your head so that between yourself and the rest of your team, you can then begin to pull this together to make it make coherent sense. Let's just get the wisdom out of your head and onto paper first of all. All right, let me see if I can go to one more person. Charmaine Dawkins, can you share your lesson, your wisdom?
Was it mine is that thing of don't give up, keep going, it'll be okay.
And I'm sure that, I mean, how many times have we needed to hear that lesson in any area of life, whether it's personal or professional? Don't give up, keep on going, it will be okay. And then you're able to share your unique perspective around what not giving up looks like. I'm sure if we all had to write one lesson about don't give up, keep on going, it will be okay. I'm sure that if I asked everybody to write about that, we'd have 30 different stories because we can all interpret that in so many different ways. We can interpret that from, from writing exams, from health situations, from building your business, from speaking to different people. So that's really, really great, Charmaine. Are you able to share what the lesson is?
Yeah, was it the lesson? Well, just so many times that it's happened, that you think, oh, was it? I've had it. I'm not doing. Was it? And like the one thing that sprang to mind was with driving. and I had done my test. I think it must have been the second time, and I just thought, I'm just not going to do this again. And then my friend said to me, keep going. And I did my third test and then my fourth, and I thought, I'm not going back. And she says, you've just got to do it. And I did one more time and I passed. And so
So that
and
was on the fifth time.
yeah, on the fifth time. Yeah.
Right.
And just looking at other things, where I've just thought, no, I'm not doing this. But then thinking, right, okay, just keep going, and it comes right in the end.
Awesome. Fantastic. And that is just such a brilliant note to end on, right? Don't give up, keep on going, because that's what's going to happen here. My request to you today was to write just one lesson, but over the next 7 days, if you could, well, first, sorry, Dr. Joan did 13 lessons in 1 hour. I don't know if we're all going to get up to her standard, but what I'd love for you to do is at least do 1 or 2 lessons every day, so that by the time we come back next week, we can spend some more time talking about the lessons. Because what I'm trying to get you to do is to create that framework, create that manuscript for your book, and then you can then start to build out your team. You can take Jackie's advice. If you have a book coach or other people in your space, you can get that done, because you'll have all of the information here. So here's the other thing. You can put all the information here because you're handwriting this. You could then give this to, listen, your niece, your nephew, a 15-year-old. Type these up for me and turn it into the first manuscript. So I'm trying to make this a step by step as easy as possible. Next week, I would love to take a screenshot for those of you who all have a copy of the book. I want to take a screenshot with us all holding the book, 50 Golden Lessons. And Shalina said it. I asked you to type the word in the chat box of repurpose, because what is Claudine going to do? She's going to repurpose the picture. So for those of you who want to be camera ready, make sure you've got your book. We're going to take a picture. And if you would like, I could circulate the picture if we can, so that you can repurpose the picture as well, and talk about what you're doing. But the main thing that I really want you to focus on over the next few days is getting those lessons out of your head and onto paper. Because I think it's really important. I think it's important, especially for those of you who've got great wisdom, but you haven't shared it enough. And we can use this as the next step to getting your book out. Bear in mind, as I said earlier on, I haven't even spoken about the business model for your book and the promotion model and the marketing. That piece we're not going to go to just yet. Let's just get the information out of your head and onto the book. So ladies, thank you so much for joining. Happy Resurrection Sunday for those of you who will be going to church tomorrow. I love Resurrection Sunday service. It just feels renewing and refreshing, and one of those services where you just kind of point back to the love of God and point back to the power of God and what resurrection means. And for me, it's an opportunity to look at all of those dreams, those ideas, those things that I have buried, or those things that I said I wanted to do at the beginning of the year and I haven't had the opportunity to do them. So resurrection not only means a lot for my spiritual life, it also means a lot for my personal and professional progress. So I look forward to seeing you next week. If there are any other budding authors in the space, in your space, that you think they should come into this workshop space, my number one goal for all of you is that you have your book written before the end of the year. My selfish piece of that is that I would like to borrow 10 of you to share your methodology, so that when I do the second edition of the workbook, that I can include 10 of you into that second edition. Ladies, have a fabulous Easter weekend, and it's Bank Holiday Monday, so surely I should have said at least do 5 more lessons for Bank Holiday Monday, but we'll sort that out. All right, ladies, have a fabulous week. We will speak next week, Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Claudine.
Thank you.